Hi children, good morning. I welcome you all to today's video class. In today's video class, I am going to teach you two poems. The first part of this video class is dedicated to teach you the second poem, that is the Rebel, and the second part of this video class will be used for teaching you the third poem, the Shed. Okay, so pay your good attention. Okay children, to begin with the second poem, let me teach you first the second poem, the Rebel. Okay, fine. Let me start the poem with some general question. Do you know anyone, children, do you know anyone who always disagrees with you, who never agrees with you? There are some persons in the world who never agrees with anyone in the world. And see, do you know how can we call such types of persons? So throughout the poem, the poet describes the character of such humans who always disagree with you, with anyone. And there are some persons who like to do the opposite of everyone loves to do. In general, we like to do certain things in the society, but there are some people who never like to do that. They always likes or want to do the opposite of everyone loves to do. Okay, fine. So they always does the opposite. They always thinks the opposite of others, who never follow the norms of the society. There are some people in the society who never follows the norms of the society, and there are some people who always contradicts with others. There are some people who always contradicts with others. Do you know how can we call such types of persons? Yeah, they are called as rebel. That is the title of this poem. So you can find some people who never agree with others. They always disagree with you. They like to do the opposite of everyone loves to do. They always think in contradiction to others' thinking. They never follow the norms of the society and always contradicts with others. Such types of persons are called rebels. So you can find such personalities in the society. Why they contradict with others? Why they disagree with everyone in the society? Because of their mindset. They have developed such an attitude in their mind. What they like to do, what they like, what they dislike, what they hate, all these things is going to be dealt in detail in today's video class. The poet describes the character of such human beings, the character of such rebels in the poem. Okay, fine. See, actually this poem is consisting of 30 lines. Two sets of pairs, so 15 sets. Each set is consisting of 2 lines. In each set, the poet describes in the first line what everyone wants to do. In the second line, what the rebel wants to do. Could you follow me, children? Yeah. This poem is consisting of 30 lines, 15 sets of lines, 15 pair of lines. Each pair is consisting of 2 lines, so altogether 15 pair. In each pair, the first line, in the first line, the poet gives a clear idea, or the poet describes what everyone wants to do in the society. In the second line of the same set, how rebels disagree with such idea, or how the rebel wants to do, what rebels want to do. That is given in the second line of the same set. Okay, fine. Let me begin the poem. See the first set. When everybody has shorter hair, when everybody has short hair, the rebel lets his hair grow long. This is the first. When everybody has short hair, the rebel lets his hair grow long. What does it mean? What is the meaning? The first line says very clearly, see, in the society, Suppose if everyone wants to have short hair, you can find such types of people, they want to have short hairs. So, knowingly, we can find out such types of people. But what the rebel does, what do the rebel do in order to look them, in order to look different, in order to make them so different from others, the rebel knowingly grows, knowingly, intentionally grows hair. When everybody, they intentionally grows hair when everybody keeps short and uniform hair. See, let me repeat the same. When everybody wants to have short and uniform hair, knowingly, intentionally, these rebels want to grow their hair long because they want to make themselves to be different from others. They want to expose them as different from others. Therefore, when everybody wants to have a short and uniform hair, these rebels intentionally, knowingly, purposefully wants to have a long hair. Why they want to do like that? Because they want to show themselves as different from others. That is their attitude. Okay, fine. Now come to the second set. When everybody has long hair, the rebel cuts his hair short. See, when the rest of the society, when the rest of the society grows long hair, when everyone in the society wants to grow their hair long, or when rest of the society grows long hair, the rebel cuts his hair short. Why they want to do this? Because non-conformist, they are called a non-conformist. Non-conformist. They want to do such things. In the first, they want to look themselves as different. Okay. See, you can find different characters of these rebels. So in each set of line, the poet very brilliantly describes the character of rebels. So in the first set of lines, when everyone wants to have a short or uniform hair, the rebels wants to have a long, or they want to grow their hair long because they want themselves to expose as different from others. They want others to look them as different. That is the main idea, criteria. In the second set of line, when everybody wants to grow their hair long, when the rest of the society grows long hair, these rebels wants to have very short hair because they want to expose themselves as non-conformist. Okay, fine. So in the first two sets of lines, when everybody wants to have short and uniform hair, the rebels want to have long hair because they want to expose themselves as different from others. And when the rest of the society wants to grow their hair long or wants to grow long hair, these rebels want to have short hair or they want to cut their hair short because they want to make themselves to expose as non-conformist. Okay, fine. Rest of the lines I will write it on the board and see, I will explain you one by one, children. Okay, I will write all the lines on the board. Okay, children. Next, when everybody talks during the lesson, the rebel doesn't say a single word, doesn't say a word. The rebel keeps silence. The rebel keeps silent as he wants to be a prominent. He wants to be prominent. When every members of the rebel doesn't say a word, society talks during a lesson. See, when everybody talks, in the society, they may talk something serious, and they may talk when they are facing the problems. When they are facing some problems, they may have a discussion among themselves. So when everybody in the society talks, seriously during the lesson, here the lesson gives you a lot of meaning. Lesson in the sense, when they are facing the problems, when they are taught something by somebody, they may have a discussion how to face the problems. What is the problem actually they are facing? They may have a discussion among themselves about the lesson. So it is quite unavoidable. So everybody in the society talks during a lesson. At that time, the rebel doesn't say even a single word. Why the rebels behave in such a way? Because they want to be prominent, or the rebel keeps silent because he wants to be very prominent. The word is very important. So he wants to keep himself as prominent. Okay, so prominent. So to show himself as prominent, the rebel does not say even a single word when everybody in the society talks. So when others talk in the society, rebel doesn't say even a single word. It keeps perfect silence because he wants to show himself as a prominent. Okay, see the next set. When nobody talks during the lesson, the rebel creates a disturbance. Here what happens? The rebel constantly seeks the attention of others by talking loudly to look distinct, to keep himself as distinct. Distinct in the sense means to make himself as different from others. That is called distinct when no one talks. When others remain silent, when people remain silent, when they understood the problem, when they had got solution for the problem, when they accepted something in general, they remain silent. When all members of the society remain silent, the rebel starts to talk. He wants to draw the attention of others. He wants to draw. The rebel constantly talks. Because the rebel wants to seek the attention by talking loudly. Because by doing in such a way, or by doing such things, he wants to make himself as distinct from others. He wants himself to show as distinct, as different from others. Therefore, when other members of the society remain silent, this rebel starts to talk loudly so as to seek the attention of others. The rebel wants to seek the attention of others. The rebel wants to draw the attention of all the members of the society towards him. Therefore, he speaks or he talks loudly. So everyone is get distracted. While others remain silent, the rebel starts to talk loudly. Okay, so in this way it wants to contradict. So when others talks, it remains silent. So it wants to be prominent. That is the character, prominent character. But in the next sets of lines, the poet wants to describe, the distinct character of this rebel. While others remain silent, the rebel wants to talk loudly. He wants to draw the attention of other people, the members of the society. Therefore, he wants to keep himself as distinct from others. Okay, fine. See the next. When everybody wears a uniform, the rebel dresses in fantastic clothes. When everybody wears a uniform, the rebel dresses in fantastic clothes. What does it mean? See, when every person of the society wears simple and uniform clothes, the occasions may be there. So people like to wear simple and uniform clothes. When everybody wears simple and uniform clothes, the rebel wears fantastic and attractive clothes. He wants to look distinguished. He wants to look distinguished from others. So here the character of distinguishes. He wants to distinguish himself from others. How can he do? While others like to wear uniform and simple dresses, when others are coming in uniform and simple dresses, when others wants to wear simple and uniform dresses, see, the rebel wants to wear fantastic and costly and attractive clothes. Why rebel wants to wear such costly and attractive and fantastic clothes? Because he wants to establish himself as distinguished to one, unique one. So the character of distinguishes from others. Okay, fine. Sometimes due to the circumstances may warrant everyone to wear simple dresses. Circumstances may warrant everyone to wear uniform dresses. At that time, if a person comes distinctly, then he looks different. Okay, that is the rebel wants. Okay, fine. See, when everybody wears a fantastic clothes, the rebel dresses soberly. When everybody wants to wear the fantastic clothes, due to the in some occasions, people would like to wear such types of dresses. When all other members of the society wears attractive clothes, the rebel dresses himself very seriously and soberly. Simple dresses, looks soberly. Okay, fine. So it may also happen. So due to see, in some occasions, people like to wear fantastic clothes or attractive clothes. So at that time, he never agrees with such people. But these rebels intentionally wants to wear very simple dresses, or they dresses himself very seriously and soberly. So the rebel dresses soberly, very simple. So everyone takes pity on the rebels. They want to get the mercy, sympathy of others. Therefore, the rebels like to wear such types of dresses, while others wears a fantastic clothes. Okay, fine. Next. In the company of dog lovers, the rebel expresses a preference for cats. Amidst a group of people, amidst a group of dogs, amidst group of people who loves dog as pet animals, the rebel prefers cats to dogs as pet animals. So there are a group of people. There are a group of people who wants to keep dog as their pet animals. They love dogs very much. They want to keep dogs as pet animals. Amidst all those lovers of dogs who wants to keep dog as their pet animals, this rebel expresses, no, I don't want to keep dog as a pet animal, but I prefer cat to dog. I prefer cats to dogs. I want to keep cats as pet animals rather than dog as pet animals. So in this way, he wants to make himself different from others. So amidst a group of people who loves dog as their pet animals, the rebel says, or the rebel prefers cats to dogs. He wants to show cats as the pet animals. Okay, fine. See the next. In the company of cat lovers, the rebel puts in a good word for dogs. See, if a rebel is in a company, if a rebel is in a company of those people who love cats as their pet animals, he prefers dogs to cat. He wants to look different at all cost. Suppose when the rebel is amidst the company of those people who loves cat as their pet animals, he differs from others, therefore he prefers dogs to cats. Here the rebel says, no, dog can be kept as pet animals rather than the cats. So in this way, he wants to look different. He wants to look different at all cost. Okay, so in the remaining lines of the poem, the poet describes other characters of these rebels, how they differ from others. I will explain all those things also, children. Okay, children, next line. When everybody is praising the sun, what happens? The ripple remarks on the need for rain. You may find such pupils are living with us. If everyone praises the sun, it means they want to have hot sun. They like summer season, because during the summer season people can go out without any difficulties. It is convenient for some people. Even the farmers may want to have summer to go for harvesting. So it is required by people of the society. So if everyone praises the sun, they praises the sun and its warmth. The praises the sun and its warmth. The ripple explains, no, I don't want sun, I don't want the warmth of the sun, I like only the rain and its chillness. So the ripple says in such a way. The ripple disagrees with the pupil. When everyone in the society wants to have sun, when they start to appreciate the warmth of the sun, this ripple disagrees with them, and he says, no, I don't like sun and its warmth, but I like rain and its chillness. So he wants to have the rain. Next, when everybody is greeting the rain, the ripple regrets the absence of the sun. When every members of the society welcomes and requires the rain, the ripple feels sorry for the absence of the sun. Suppose after the sowing season, farmers wants to have rain. It is good for it is good for the growth of the plants. So they want to have rain. And people also wants to have rain to have a good underground water level. To increase underground water level, we like to have rainfalls. Okay, so when everybody welcomes and requires rain, what these ripple says, the ripple feels, oh, I am very sorry for the absence of the sun. He says that he feels sorry for the absence of the sun. So when he regrets, feel sorry for the absence of the sun. Okay, so when everyone likes to have the rainfall, when everyone welcomes and requires the rain, the ripple feels for the absence of the sun. The ripple wants to have the hot sun. Okay, when everybody goes to the meeting, the ripple stays at home and reads a book. Here what happens? How the ripple disagree with others? When every members of the society goes to some gathering, when every members of the society goes to meeting, in the sense means when they want to go to some gathering, the ripple, no, I don't want to go for such a gathering, I don't want to mix with others, I want to stay today at home, and she starts to engrosses reading a book. So when every members of the society wants to go for some gathering, what does the ripple say? No, I don't want to mix with others, I don't want to go and attend the gathering, let me stay back at home, I want to read some books. So staying such words or expressing such words, the ripple stay back at home and engross reading books. Reading a book. Okay. Next, when everybody stays at home and reads a book, the ripple goes to the meeting. So highly contradictory with others. In this, how he repels? When everybody of the society, when every members of the society feels to stay at home as necessary and reads a book, the ripple tries to attend meeting. The ripple himself wants to have meeting, wants to attend the gathering. When others feel it is more comfortable, when others feel it is necessary to stay at home, when everybody of the society stays at home and read a book, the ripple tries to attend the meeting. Okay. When everybody says yes, please, the ripple says no, thank you. How he disagrees here with other people? When every person asks for something, the ripple rejects the same. Suppose we would like to have something, so we may ask others to give us. We may ask our parents, we may ask our teachers, we may ask our friends, we may ask our kith and kin for something. When every person asks for something, for example, we may ask for peace of mind, We may ask God to give us good health. So everyone needs something. So when we ask to fulfill our needs, when we ask for something, the rebel says, no, I don't want anything. He rejects the same. But immediately he says, thank you, thanks. Because he is a person quite different from others. So he says, I don't want anything. Thank you, I don't want anything. Without getting anything, he wants to say thanks in advance. He wants to express his gratitude well in advance. So when everybody says yes, please, when everybody wants to have something, when everybody asks for something, the rebel says, no, I don't want anything. He says, no, thank you. He immediately wants to express his thanks or gratitude. When everybody says, no, thank you, the rebel says, yes, please. When every member or when everybody of the society does not like and does not receive anything and says thanks for that, the rebel purposefully, on purpose, requests that thing and asks for it. Suppose we have everything what we want to have. God has given us everything what we want to have in our life. So we feel so comfortable to lead happy life with the things what we have. So every members of the society, see, they doesn't or does not like anything and does not want to receive anything. Therefore, when others comes forward to offer them something, they say, okay, thank you, we don't want anything because we have almost all the things what we want to have. Sometimes we may say like that. So he gently refuses to get help or to get things from others. At all such occasions you may say thank you very much. You may say thanks, you may express your thanks. But at that time the rebel says, no, I want that. Give me. The rebel on purpose requires the thing that asks for it. Okay, fine. So when everybody says no, when everyone doesn't want to have such things, because already they have got, but the rebel on purpose says, no, I want such things, give it to me. Okay, last, it's very good that we have rebels. You may not find it very good to be one. Here at the concluding remark, what the poet wants in these lines, the poet concludes that it is very good that we have social rebels in the society. It is very good to have such type of social rebels in the society. But naturally, it is not good to become a social rebel. Why the poet says? Because the poet suggests that if we already have the social rebel, we should tolerate them. Without them, life will become monotonous and dull. So, we have rebels already in the society. They are very good because they are the only people who can question others. But see, here the poet beautifully portrays the nature of the rebel and his or her attitude against conformity. The poet has portrayed the sensible and contradictory attitude of the rebel. Sensible and contradictory attitude of the rebel. Everyone cannot be rebellion. Everyone can't be a rebellion. He vividly explains the presence of the rebel is needed. Presence is very much important. The rebel must be present in every society as he or she has the courage to question. A rebellion thinks differently from others. A rebellion thinks differently from others. They are harmless. But they want to be different. But they are harmless. They go against the custom and the old tradition of the society. So they don't want to follow everything blindfoldedly. They want to raise question. They don't want to follow the old tradition and the customs. So it is very much essential to have such rebels amidst us in the society, because they have the courageousness, they have the boldness to raise questions. So the presence of this rebel is very much needed in the society. So they have the courage to raise the questions. Everyone cannot be a rebellion. That's very important. The poet wants to conclude that, but they are harmless. Okay, fine children. So rebel is one who disagree with others. If everyone goes in one way, rebel wants to go in another way. If everyone likes one thing, the rebel wants to like another thing. If everyone follows certain things, rebel wants to follow some other things. If everyone has same opinion of somebody or something, rebel wants to have different opinion of something or somebody. Why this rebel differs from others? Why this rebel always wants to disagree with others? Because they want to follow their own way. They want to be different from others. So nothing is wrong in it. But being a social rebellion is very difficult, very dangerous. You can be a rebellion. So we want to have such types of rebels with us in the society. Okay, thank you children. Next, I would like to go for the third poem, The Shed. Okay, you shed. So if you have any doubt in the poem, that is the rebel, you just to make a note of it, have a glance, just to read the poetical lines. Okay, fine children. Okay children, next poem, poem 3, The Shed by Frank Flynn. Let me start the poem with some introduction. Do you know what a shed is? What is shed or what a shed is? A cow shed, you can hear the word, you might have heard the word a cow shed, a tool shed, a wood shed. See, isn't it? These and all you come across, a cow shed, tools shed. So you could come across these things, a cow shed, a tool shed, then a wood shed. So shed is a place where you can keep. It is a place meant for keeping certain things, used or unused things. So it's a small room away from the main house. Shed is a small room. It's a small room. Shed is a small room. Usually it is away from the main house. For storing or keeping things, we use shed for storing or keeping things, animals, for storing things, for storing and keeping things, animals, tools, vehicles. So we use this shed. Shed is a small room. Normally it is away from the main house. Shed is a small room. It is away from the main house. We use this shed to keep for or storing for things, animals, tools and vehicles. That's a thing that these sheds are normally built away from the main home. Okay, fine. Here in this poem, the poet says that in his garden there is a shed, but it is at the bottom of the house, that is at the end of the garden. It looks so frightful. Throughout the poem, the poet describes how is it, how it is. See, the shed is what a shed is, how it is, and how he looks his shed. He wants to open the shed, his attitude, general attitude of a poet. So all these things has been described vividly in the poem. This poem is actually consisting of 4 stanzas and a single line of the 5th stanza also. Okay, let me explain the line by line of each and every stanza. Okay, pay your good attention children. To begin with, there is a shed at the bottom of our garden. The poem starts with the introductory line. There was a shed in the poet's garden. The poet has a garden. In the garden, at the bottom, here stands for at the end. Near the end of the garden, there was a shed. Near the end of a garden, there was a shed. How it looks, the shed here, hardly anybody goes inside the shed. It has been less frequented. No one so far now has gone inside the shed because the door of the shed is closed always. No one has gone inside. So hardly anybody goes inside the shed. Therefore, what happens? A spider's web, one can find the cobweb on the cobweb hanging across the door. The poet says, once if you go and have a closer view of the shed, you can find a cobweb. Spider's web was hanging on the entrance, that is across the door. So the cobweb, usually spiders build their cobweb on the places where less frequency is there. Mostly they like to build their web on the sea door, on the window pans, where there is no human frequency or less frequented place. Mostly it wants to build such webs only in the less frequented, less haunted places. So here the poet says, hardly anybody goes inside, so the door remains closed for a long time. Therefore, the spider starts to build its webs across the door. So the very sight of the cobweb announces or gives you an information that hardly anybody goes inside the shed for a long time. And in the third line, the hinges. Here hinges stands for the joints of the door. The joints of the door, it became very rusty. See the third line, the hinges are very rusty, because once if you fail to use it, or if the door remains closed without opening for a long time, the joints became rusty. So the rusted, when the joints becomes rusty and creak in the wind, when the wind blows or when the wind shakes the door, it produces much louder noise. When the wind blows against the door or when the wind shakes the door, it produces much louder noise because the joints became so rusty. So the fourth line, when I am in bed, the poet says he is sleeping. When the poet is peacefully, when the poet is peacefully lying in the bed, he sometimes hears such a louder noise from the shed. When the poet is peacefully lying in the bed, here you have to note the word, children. The poet says, I am in the bed, not I am on the bed. Both are different, grammatically correct. But in the bed means the poet likes to sleep. The poet wants to have peaceful sleep. So even when he wants to sleep, when he is trying himself to sleep peacefully, he hears such a louder noise. It disturbs him. So the poet wishes to be able to, so finally what happens? The poet wants to open the door of the shed some other day. So I will open that door one day. So the first stanza expresses or gives us an idea about the shed. Here I will show you the picture of the shed, children. See the shed. See, this is a shed. See, the poet begins the poem by saying how there is shed in his garden. So the poet begins the poem by saying how there is a shed in his garden. The shed located nearly end of the garden looks brightful. See, this shed looks brightful. One may find spider's cobweb across the door. See the cobweb. One may find spider's cobweb across the door. The presence of the spider's web across the door shows that it is rarely used and it is more of a deserted building. So the cobweb across the door says that it is rarely used and it is a deserted building. So the poem begins by stating how there is a shed in his garden. Okay, so this is a shed. It is located at the end of the garden and it looks so brightful, frightful. and one may find a cobweb across the door. The presence of the cobweb across the door shows that it is rarely used and it is a deserted building. Okay, fine children. Here I have brought some other pictures also, I will show you. So in the first stanza what the poet says, there is a shed in his garden. So it looks so frightful because it is a deserted building. Nobody likes to see that one because the door remained closed for a long time. The shed door is closed for a long time. And one can see, one can find, one may find a spider's cobweb across the door. Mostly the spiders likes to build a web on the door which has not been used by the people, or on the window which has not been used by the people for a long time. Okay, so it has been a deserted building. It is more of a deserted building. It has not been used for a long time by the people. Okay, and the hinges, the joints of the door became so rusty because it has not been used by the people for a long time. So when the wind blows, or when the wind blows or shakes the door, it produces a louder noise. When the poet is comfortably lying in the bed, sometimes he hears such a louder noise produced by the door when it is shaken by the wind. When the poet is peacefully lying in the bed, he sometimes hears such a louder noise from the shed. The poet wishes to open the door and he wants to go inside one day, inside the shed one day. So that's the total meaning of the first stanza. So in the first stanza, the poet is describing a shed. Okay, the shed located near the end of the garden, but it looks very brightful, very brightful. That's moreover, the hinges of the door are affected by rust, and as a result, it creates a louder noise when the wind forces upon it. The speaker says he could hear the creaky noise when he is lying comfortably in his bed. Here, the speaker can be seen talking about he is in the bed rather than on the bed. Both are, as he told you, both are same. But lying in the bed means the poet wants to go for sleep. He is under the blanket. He is covered with the blanket. So he is in the bed. This phrase would suggest that a person has been spending or planning to spend some quality time. At that time he hears such a louder noise. Second paragraph, second stanza. There is a dusty old window around at the side. Now the poet describes the side view of the shed. On the side of the shed there is a window. There is a window. I will show you the picture. See the window. Here you can see at the side there is a dusty old window. The window has not been cleaned for a long time. Therefore, what happens? The poet discusses how he wishes to stare inside the shed. Has a dusty. The window was very old and it was covered with glass. So the shed has a dusty old window on the side. Three glass pans of the window are broken. See here the poet says with the three cracked pans of glass. So the window has been covered with the glass pans. Three of them, not all the pans, only three of them has been cracked or has been broken. Okay, see the picture again. The window has been covered. So the shed has a window at the side. So it has been covered with glass. The window has been covered, window glass pans. Three of the window glass pans had been broken. Whenever the poet passes through the shed, then I often think there is someone staring at me. whenever, the third line, the poet says, I often think there is someone staring at me. So whenever the poet crosses or passes through the shed, he gets a feeling that as if someone was staring at him from inside the shed. So each time that I passes, the second stanza of the third line, the poet says, I often think there is someone. I often think there is someone staring at me each time I passes. So whenever the poet crosses, whenever the poet passes through the shed, he gets the feeling, he gets a feeling as if someone is calling at him, as if someone was staring at him. To find out, the poet wishes to peep inside the shed one day. So there is dusty old window, there is dusty old window. So the window was at the side of the, see, there is a window at the side. Window at the side of the shed. There was a window at the side of the shed. At the side of the shed. Actually, the window was covered with glasses. Glass pan of. See, the window was covered with pans of glasses. Bands of glasses. 3 of them had been broken. Not all the pans of glasses. Only 3 of the pans of glasses have been broken. So, and more than that, often someone staring at me. Here the poet says, someone staring at me every time he crosses. So whenever he passes through the shed, he had got a feeling. He feels as if someone were inside the shed, and as if someone were inside, and if the person staring, someone staring at him. The poet had that feeling. So it passes through the shed, he gets a feeling as if someone was staring at him. So he wants, I will peep through the window one day. I will peep through the window. I will peep through the window. So now the poet wants to know who is inside the shed. Who is staring at him whenever he crosses the shed. So he wants to know that person. So at the end of the second stanza, the poet says, I want to peep through the window who is inside the shed. The poet wants to know who is inside the shed. So in the second stanza, what the poet says altogether, so in the second stanza, the poet wants to say that, see, the poet further describes the shed. The poet further describes the shed in the second stanza. Apart from the rusty joints of the door, apart from the rusty joints of the door, the shed has a window on the side, at the side. It is old. The window is very old and dusty. Because the window was very old and it was dusty, no one has used it, no one has cleaned it so far, and it has been damaged. See, 3 crossed pans of glasses, 3 pan glasses were broken. It has 3 cracked bands. So the window has glass pans, but 3 of them has been broken. It doesn't mean that the window had only 3 pans of glasses, 3 cracked pans, not like that. Only 3 of the pans were cracked, not all others. So the second stanza, the poet further describes about the nature of the window. The poet further describes the nature of the shed and the window. So in the first stanza, he describes the shed and its nature. In the second stanza, apart from the rusty joints, the poet's shed has an old window at the side. It is very old and dusty because it has not been cleaned for a long time. It has damaged pans of glass window. The window has been covered with the pans of glasses. 3 of them has been damaged and it had been broken. And he has also felt that It is interesting to know that the poet had stated that the 3 were damaged sheets of glasses. Okay, fine. And he also gets a feeling that if someone were inside the shed and the person who was inside the shed was staring at him, he had such a feeling. Whenever he crosses, at each time he crosses, he feels that if someone was inside the shed and staring at him, he wants to know who is that person each time that I pass. So he wants to peep through the window one day. In the first stanza, what he wants to say, he wants to open the door and he wants to go inside the shed. But in the second stanza, he doesn't want to open the door and he doesn't want to get inside the shed, but he wants to know who is inside the shed. Who is inside the shed, and therefore he wants to peep through the window. He wants to peep through the window. Okay, fine. In the third stanza, what the poet wants to say is, in the third stanza, so slowly can read. The third stanza of the poem introduces a new character. In the third stanza, the poet introduces a new character. Who was he? He was no one else but the poet's brother. The speaker's brother, the poet's brother. The poet's brother has told the speaker. The poet's brother has told the speaker that there is a ghost inside. See, the poet's brother told him, you don't go near by the shed. So in the third stanza, the poet wants to introduce another character. He was no one else other than the poet's brother. He says, the poet's brother, a new character, the poet's brother has told the speaker, the poet, that there is a ghost inside the shed. He also says the ghost is not visible to others because it is not visible to everyone's eyes. It hides under the floor because ghost, it hides under the floor. So in the third stanza, the poet introduces another character. He was none other than the speaker's brother. He says that there is a ghost inside. The poet's brother had told the speaker that there is a ghost inside in the shed. The ghost is not visible to everyone's eyes. Why? Because it is hidden under the floor. Also the brother, he warned the speaker that if he wants to go inside, then the ghost jump out of his hiding place. It comes out of its hiding place and it will bounce upon you. And sometimes, additionally, the brother also said the ghost would chop his head. It bounds upon him, and chop means cut off. Chop your head. So, if it happens, if it sees him entering the shed. Okay, so in the third stanza, the poet introduces a new character. He was none other than the speaker's brother. He wants to want the poet. Therefore he says, my brother says, there is a ghost in the shed. The poet's brother want his brother, that is poet, the speaker, don't go nearby the shed, brother, because there is a ghost inside the shed. There is a ghost inside, but it is not visible to all human beings. It is not visible to all human beings because it hides under the rotten floorboards. Under the rotten floor. See, under the rotten floor beds. So, under the rotten floor beds. So, in the third stanza, my brother says, there is a ghost in the shed. There is a ghost in the shed. who hides under the rotten floor beds. It hides under the rotten floor beds. And what happens? It is not visible to all human beings. It is not visible because it hides under the rotten floor beds. And he also, poet's brother warned him, if you ever dare to set foot inside, if you want to set your foot inside the shed, what would happen? If you ever dare to go inside the shed, then the ghost will jump out, will bounce, and it will chop off your head. Chop off. Chop off means cut off. It will cut off your head. But I will take a peek one day. Despite all these things, at the end of the third stanza, the poet wants to say that he would like to visit. See, what does he wants to say in the third, actually in the end of the third stanza, he still wished to one day step inside the shed and see for himself. So in the third stanza, the poet introduces a new character. The new character was none other than the poet's brother. The poet's brother, actually he wants to warn his brother. The poet brother talked about the presence of the ghost. He warned his brother that there was a ghost inside the shed and it hides under the rotten floor bed. It hides in the rotten floor beds. So the poet's brother says, the poet's brother has told the speaker that there is a ghost inside the shed. And the ghost is not visible. And the ghost is not visible to every human being, everyone's eyes, because it is hidden. Because it is hidden under the floor. So if you dare to put your step inside, then it would bounce upon you and it will chop off your head. So never dare to go inside the shed. Poet's brother warned him in such a way. Despite all this warning, the poet one day wants to step inside the shed, and he wants to see for himself. Okay, fourth stanza. What the poet says in the fourth stanza: I know that there is really a ghost. I know that there is not really a ghost. So the poet in these lines seems to have grown enough to understand the truth. Now the poet has grown up, so he understands the real truth behind the words of his brother. When he was warned by his brother that there was a ghost inside the shed, when he was a child he believed it, but now he has grown up, so he himself understands the truth. The poet is able to overcome. The poet is now able to overcome his fear. Now he is able to understand. That there is no ghost inside the shed. Now he is able to understand that there is no ghost inside the shed. My brother tells lies to keep the shed for his dead. He also says, why his brother says like that? Because if he says like that, then the poet will get scared of visiting the shed. The poets would get scared of seeing or stepping inside the room. Therefore, then the entire shed would be used by him for keeping his things. So my brother tells lies. Now the poet understood. Now the poet realized. Now the poet can understand that his brother is telling lies to keep the shed for his den. He wants to keep that shed as his den. Then he alone can be there. He alone keep all his belongings there. So with that purpose only, with that intention, the poet's brother wants to say all these things. The poet brother gets scared of ghost, so he never visits the shed. He never dare to go inside the shed. With that plan only, he told him in such a way. Now the poet became matured enough to understand the truth behind the statement of his brother. So I know that there is really no ghost is there in the shed, and he also knew that his brother was telling him lie because to keep the shed for his death. Third line, there is not anyone staring or making strange noises. Now the poet also, he understands that there is actually nobody inside. Now he comes to know it was his imagination. Just the fear made him to think like that. He understands that there is actually no one inside the shed, and no one stare at him or makes those strange noises. Now he comes to know that there is no one inside the shed and no one is making such a strange noise. Only when the wind blows, only when the wind makes the door rocks, it produces such a noise, because all the parts were so rusty. So there is not anyone staring. No one was there inside. No one was there inside the shed, and no one was making such strange noises. And the spider has been gone from his web, and the spider has gone from its web. Since I don't know, so therefore very soon the poet would be, so very soon the poet says would be able to set in food inside the shed. However, he says that it cannot happen immediately. Since I don't know when I will go in that shed, one day soon. Now the poet says the spider has been gone from his web. The spider has gone, so now I can enter, since I don't know when. But I will go into that shed. The poet says, I will go inside the shed. I would like to see who is inside the shed. I want to know who are all there inside the shed. No one is there. I want to know these things. I want to visit. I want to go inside the shed. One day it will happen. The poet says, but I don't know when will it happen. But not just yet. But see immediately, but it cannot happen. But not just yet. See the last line, the poet says, one day definitely he would go. By dismissing his fears and doubts, the speaker indeed desires to check out the shed, at least for once. Again the poet concludes the stanza with the modified refrain. He can be seen convincing himself. He can be seen convincing himself that he would go into the shed. He would go into the shed one day, but it will happen soon. But he himself doesn't know when will it happen. Okay, so in this way, the poet describes the shed. Okay, children, let me give you the sum up of the poem, the complete paraphrasing of the poem. Now, see, the shed is a poem by, Frank Flynn. So the poet has a garden. At the end of his garden, there was a shed. It was an old shed actually. At the bottom of the garden of the poet's garden, there was a shed, and this shed has not been used for a long time by anyone. Therefore, it became so rusty, and the joints of the doors of the shed became so rusty, and the spider starts to build a cobweb across the door, so anyone can find such a cobweb across the door, and the joints of the door became so rusty. Therefore, it produces a louder noise when the wind starts to blow. When the wind starts to blow, it produces a louder noise. The poet hears all such noises when he is comfortably lying in the bed. Therefore, in the first stanza, the poet says that at the bottom, at the end of his garden, he had a shed. That shed remained closed for a long time. No one has been using that. It has not been used by anyone for a long time. Therefore, it becomes so dusty, and the doors became became so dusty, and the joints of the doors also becomes so joint becomes so rusty, and anyone can find the cobweb across the door, and as the joints of the door become so rusty, it produces a louder noise when the wind blows against the door. When the poet lies comfortably in the bed, he was mainly disturbed by the louder noise of the door which has been produced when the wind starts to blow. But the poet says at the end of the first stanza, one day he will open and he will go inside the shed. In the second stanza, besides describing the door and the entrance of the shed, he also describes the sides. So the shed has its own window on the side. The window has been covered with the panes of glasses, but 3 of them has been broken, because the window also around the side, it has cracked panes of glasses. Not all the panes of glasses has been broken, only 3 of them, and more than that, while describing the side window of the shed, the poet also says that whenever he crosses the shed, he could feel that someone was inside the shed, and the person was staring at him. The poet feels that whenever he passes through, at every time he crosses the shed, he could feel that someone was inside the shed, and the unknown person, the strange person was staring at him. But he wants to know who is inside, therefore he wants to peep through the window one day. But the poet says, one day I will peep through the window and I will find out who is inside. And in the third stanza, the poet introduces a new character. He was none other than the poet's brother. He wants to make the poets to get afraid, to get scared of the things. Therefore, he imaginatively says that there was a ghost inside. There was a ghost inside the shed, and no one can see the ghost easily because it was hidden under the rotten floor bed. And if you go, and if anyone dares to go inside, then the ghost will bounce upon, the ghost will come out of its hiding place and it will jump upon the person, and even if you venture to go inside, it will chop off your head. So in such a way, his brother told the poet about the presence of the ghost inside the shed. Why he told him like that? Because he didn't want the poet to go inside the shed. Okay, fine. But despite all these things, I will take a peek one day. The poet decided, one day I will look out, one day I will go and I will find out is there any ghost in the shed. In the early days of the poet, he was just afraid of going inside. He was just afraid of visiting the shed. But in the later days, he was courageous enough to understand the truth and fact behind the words of his brother. Therefore, he has decided one day to visit the shed, and he wanted to find out the truth. So there is not a ghost. Because now he was mature enough to understand the fact, his brother intentionally developed all such a story about the presence of the ghost inside the shed, because the poet now realized that his brother wants to occupy the shed for his own. He wants to keep all his things inside. Therefore, he was telling lies to him. He understood. Now the poet was mature enough to understood the thing, and then he also realized there was no one inside the shed. No one was staring at him. All these things are pure his imagination. All these things are outcome of his imagination. That also the poet realized. And he also realized one more thing: the spider has gone from its web. The spider has gone from its web before a long time. Therefore, now he wants to know who will go in. Now he has decided to go inside. So he wants to know who is inside. He wants to get into that shed. But the poet himself says, when will it happen? So now he dismissed his fears and doubts. The spider inside indeed desires to check out the shed. So speaking of the refrain, the poet now at the end of the last stanza, he says, one day he would visit the shed. He would go into the shed one day soon. However, he adds a comma to the refrain and takes his thought further into the fifth stanza. Okay, thank you children. You too may have the shed in your garden. If you have such a shed in your garden, kindly pay a visit and describe how it looks like. See, this is a window pane, and see, this is the shed. See the cobweb, and this is the shed. See the hinges. Actually, it is located in the poet's house. It became so rusty. The window panes, damaged window panes, and then see the airy look of the shed, daytime, how it looks like. Okay children, I hope you can understand the two poems well, the rebel as well as the shed. Just to go through the lines of the poem. If you have any doubts, just to mark it, and then we will discuss it when time comes. Okay, thank you children, have a nice day.